Motivation and emotion. So motivation is anything that directs a person towards a particular goal, directs you to do something. An emotion is a subjective feeling that is characterized by arousal, cognition, and expressive behaviors. So your motivations are something that energize and direct you towards something, and your emotion is the feeling or response. So there are four different types of motives. Incentive motive is a goal's appeal that goes beyond its ability to fulfill a need. So money might be an incentive for doing something. A primary motive is something that's inside based on a biological need that must be met to survive. Something like food and water. You have to have those in order to survive. A stimulus motive is the need for stimulation and information. It appears to be something that you can't live without, but it's not necessary for survival. That might be something like having a cell phone. And then a secondary motive is based on a learned need, drive, and goal. So this is anything like having a fast car, a nice house, things that basically society have taught you are important. So when a person is motivated to do something, it is because of a drive, which is an internal state of tension, something that's unsettling within them that they have to reduce. The whole point of your body is to maintain homeostasis. So we don't want to have this state of tension in our bodies. When it comes to a drive, it's mainly referring to things that are innate, things that you have to have, like food and water, to keep your body in balance. Incentives, of course, make us make certain choices, and some people will do things because they want money, they want power. Most of the time, what motivates you is a learned behavior, something that your family or your society or your culture has told you is important. So if you and all of your siblings become medical doctors, it's because you've been taught that that is important and something that you should do. An instinct, on the other hand, is something that is unlearned. It is something that your body and your mind naturally respond to. Here are some biological motives: hunger, thirst, sex, and sleep, and social motives: achievement, play, autonomy, and affiliation. Drive reduction theory tells us that when a person experiences a need or a drive, they are motivated to reduce that need or drive. And the way they reduce that is through the drive reduction theory. They are motivated so that their body can maintain homeostasis. For example, if you have a need for food or water, it's because you are hungry or thirsty. So your drive reducing behavior will be to eat or drink. Here's a chart that kind of shows us the cycle that can happen if we're hungry and thirsty, and how it can disrupt our equilibrium. And so you have to be able to satisfy that need. Your balance is disturbed, then the need gives rise to a drive. The organism is motivated to satisfy the drive, the organism meaning you. Drive reduction is for you to eat or drink, and then your balance is restored. So the difference between drive theory and incentive theory is that drive theory is always based on a biological internal motivation, whereas an incentive theory is always environmental. It's always based on societal needs. Arousal theory tells us that people perform better if they are moderately aroused. And when I speak of arousal, I'm talking about your level of awareness, alertness, and awakeness. How activated is your central nervous system? The Yerkes-Dodson law says that people perform better when they are moderately aroused, and they are going to perform worse if their level of arousal is too low or too high. For example, if you are taking a test, you need to go into the test a little nervous, but confident that you can do well. Then you will be moderately aroused and your performance will be maximum. If you go into the test with too little arousal, meaning you're not worried about it, you're easygoing, it is what it is, you're probably not going to perform well. And if you also go in there and you're too stressed or too anxious about it, you're not going to perform well. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is the belief that people are motivated by needs and not all needs are created equal. According to Maslow, people have to satisfy these lower level needs first and then move up to satisfying higher needs. Okay? Starting with the bottom of the chart, which are physiological needs. That's your need for hunger and thirst. Those are your most basic needs, according to Maslow, and they must be fulfilled before any other need can be fulfilled. Right above physiological needs are safety needs, and that's your need to feel that the world is an organized and predictable, safe place. This might be your need for housing and shelter. That's why people who are homeless are trying to satisfy their basic need of getting food and satisfying their thirst. They're having a hard time focusing on having a job or getting their own place to stay because they're just trying to survive on a very basic level first. Then once your safety needs are met, then your belongingness and love needs can be met. That's your need to be loved and to have love and to be accepted and to avoid loneliness and alienation. Most people are not going to commit to a marriage or relationship if they don't first feel safe in the relationship, safe with their job, their career, have some security in their life, and then they can commit to a relationship. After belongingness and love come your esteem needs. This is your need for self-esteem, achievement, and competence. For most people, they achieve at their job, and that's where most of their esteem needs are met. Unfortunately, many people never get the recognition they need on their job, so they kind of just wallow in these stages. Sorry about that. And then never really reach the top, which according to Maslow is the highest level of needs, which is self-actualization. This is what all humanistic psychologists say is the peak of a person's life. It's living up to your full potential. Being able to look back over your life and saying, I did everything I could possibly do. I am fulfilled. Now, I want to be clear that just because you reach one level of Maslow's doesn't mean that you stay at that level. A person could easily lose their job and drop all the way back down to safety needs or physiological needs. And I think a lot of people have experienced that sort of vacillating between one level and the other. You can always go back and forth. When it comes to hunger, glucose is the sugar that circulates in your blood. It's the natural sugar that helps provide you with energy. When your blood sugar or glucose is low, you will feel hungry. When your blood glucose is high, you will feel full. The ventromedial hypothalamus and the lateral hypothalamus are both involved in the regulation of eating. So if you look at the rat on the left, when its ventromedial hypothalamus was destroyed, its body weight tripled. So that means that we know the ventromedial hypothalamus sort of controls our feeling of being full. And if it was destroyed, that's why that rat gained so much weight. And the lateral hypothalamus is the exact opposite. It's the part There are some environmental factors that may also affect our hunger, such as the availability of food, how much food is around us, learned preferences and habits surrounding foods, like when we eat, and then also stress. Some people overeat or undereat when they're stressed. Your set point is your body's natural weight thermostat. If your body falls below its normal weight, you will be hungry. If it and then that will cause you to eat more. Your basal metabolic rate is your body's rate of energy expenditure. So with set point, your body weight usually stays at a certain number, and it can vacillate up plus or minus 2 points or 3 points each day. And anytime it's out of that time frame, then it tries to regain homeostasis. And we've already talked about homeostasis being your body balance. When a person has hypoglycemia, they have low blood glucose. And we've already said the hypothalamus regulates your ability to eat. When people feel thirsty, it's very similar to hunger. Your mouth dryness plays a role. All of your important fluid contents are located in your blood vessels. And your hypothalamus is also going to be the organ that encourages you to drink. People sometimes have eating disorders. The 4 primary eating disorders are obesity, anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, and binge eating disorder. Obesity usually affects 1/3 of the adults in the United States who are overweight. Another 1/3 are medically obese. It generally involves having a body mass index of 30 or more. And it's one of the nation's greatest health threats because it can lead to other disorders such as heart disease, diabetes, strokes, and cancers. Anorexia nervosa, it occurs when a person's weight is 85% of the normal weight for their age and height. These people have a fear of gaining weight or being and may look underweight. They try to avoid food at all costs and have a distorted sense of body image. People with bulimia nervosa have repeated episodes of binge eating where they consume large amounts of food in a short period of time, and then that's considered a binge, and then purging after eating, including vomiting or using laxatives or engaging in exercise so that they don't maintain all of the calories they ate. This is somebody who may alternate between overeating and fasting. And then binge eating disorder is very similar to bulimia, except there's no purging. So that's repeated episodes of binge eating and consuming large amounts of food, feeling out of control during eating, feeling ashamed and guilty afterwards, but then not purging or vomiting or anything like that. Achievement motive has to do with your desire to excel. And most people who are motivated by achievement prefer moderately difficult tasks. They can be competitive, they have very clear goals, and they like to accomplish things in work and school. These might be the students who in a high school are at the top of their class and have close to a 4.0 GPA. High achievers tend to choose moderately difficult tasks and avoid easy and impossible tasks, whereas low achievers like to have easy or impossible tasks so they don't have to take responsibility for what they've done. So people who are high achievers want to do well and want to continue to strive, whereas people who are lower achievers kind of want to take the easy way out. Atkinson's theory of achievement states that the strength of one's motivation to achieve is based on a number of factors, such as incentives and the probability of success. Intrinsic motivation motivation recurs to how much a person is going to strive towards something. If you are extrinsically motivated, your motivation is based on external factors, such as rewards, like I did this for money or to avoid punishment, so I didn't get in trouble. A person who is intrinsically motivated is motivated based on their own internal incentives. Like, I did this because it makes me feel good, or I find joy in it. When it comes to being affiliated with others, that has to do with your need to be around others, like family and friends. This motive is usually aroused when people feel threatened and anxious and when they want to celebrate something. Social bonds are very important for survival and reproduction. Now let's talk some about emotions. Here are the primary emotions that everybody experiences. And if you have watched the movie Inside Out, a psychologist did have work on that movie, and it does a good job at explaining kind of how the primary emotions work. An emotion is a complex pattern of feelings, which includes three components: biological, cognitive, and behavioral components. Biological meaning your physiological arousal, being awake, aware, alert, and cognitive meaning your thoughts, and behavioral meaning what you do. Once again, this just gives you a little more explanation on what biological means: being alert, aware, perspiring, have an increased heart rate, activation of your autonomic nervous system. Cognitive being something you're thinking, something you say, how you think, and behavioral being your actions. So there are three major theories of emotion: the James Lange theory, the Cannon-Barrett theory, and the two-factor theory. The James Lange theory says that people experience emotions rather than causes and physiological arousal. So they say each emotion is physiologically distinct. They said your expression of emotions results from physiological arousal. For example, I feel sad because I'm crying. So according to the James Lange theory, you know what's going on to you based on physiological arousal. I know I'm sad because I'm crying. But remember, we also know that people might cry when they're happy. The Cannon-Barrett theory says that our emotions and physiological changes are going to occur simultaneously at the same time, and that all emotions are physiologically similar. I'm crying, I'm feeling sad at the same time. And the two-factor theory says that your emotions depend upon two factors: physiological arousal, which occurs first, and then our cognitive labeling of that arousal. So then we can look at external cues in our environment to add a label for it. I'm crying at a wedding. I'm experiencing joy because I'm crying at a wedding. I'm looking at my environment, and now I know that crying is not necessarily a negative thing. The facial feedback hypothesis says that the movements of the facial muscles can produce or intensify our subjective experiences of an emotion. And notice from the picture, just holding a pencil or a pen in your teeth and holding your mouth open for 30 seconds can make you appear happy, whereas closing your mouth can make you appear sad. Emotions can vary across cultures because some cultures express emotions differently. Lie detector tests are supposed to measure a person's arousal in their sympathetic nervous system. So your heart rate, respiration, blood pressure. However, lie detector tests can come up in error between 25 and 75% of the time, especially if people feel like they can beat the system. There are 5 ways that people can increase their level of happiness. They can express gratitude, they can change negative behaviors, they can spend their money and time more wisely, build and maintain close relationships, and choose and pursue worthy goals. That is everything you need to know about motivation and emotion.